Billy Harvey.
Hey there, this is Rob Ruckus.
Hey, it's Tony from Fastball.
Hey, it's Ben McKelvey.
Hey guys, it's Matt here from the White Lakes.
What's up, everybody? Jacob from the Big News.
Hey guys, it's Nick Collins here from The Effect and Better Strangers.
Check me out at Almost Famous Magazine.
Buzzing film our clips to be dropping on Almost Famous magazine.
Check out Almost Famous Magazine.
You can find more clips from my interview with Almost Famous Magazine.
3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Yeah, no, it takes. I think it takes people time because again, you learn it and you want to show everybody, but just showing that you can do it doesn't mean that it's right. I got one more question, but I want to get to the book. But yeah. I got one more question that I've been dying to ask some people, and I keep forgetting it every time. So now that I'm thinking about it, you're the test subject. What's the hardest song you've ever had to learn? What were the challenges that you had to overcome, and how'd you figure out how to get it to where it needed to be so that it was right? You know, do you ever face a challenge that you're like, man, I just can't get this. I just can't get this. And
Interesting. Now, I recently got asked to play for the Stranglers. This is a weird story in itself, but I got a call from the drummer saying, we're going on tour, but I've hurt my hand. So I need you to come in and rehearse up. I was like, wow. He said, they're doing a 30-song set, which there's some pretty, tricky stuff in there. So what I want you to do is learn it, come in the studio with me for 2 days, and then go in with the boys and record it, rehearse it and record it, right? For this tour. Now, there was one song, can't actually remember what it's called off the top of my head. And it had this crazy drum beat that obviously Jet Black had done years previous, right? And I was like, what is going on there? So I was sitting there scratching my head. So I'd sent the drummer a message going, what? So he sends me a video going, this is how you play it. And I'm like, what is he doing there? So anyway, I try and learn it and I still can't get it. So I go in the studio with him for 2 days. I said, well, you're going to show me. So he sits down. He's like, basically you start with the wrong hand and you start like a beat early. And I'm like, hang on. I got it. And it was like, bang, got it. Okay. I've got it. I've got it. Yeah. And then he went, basically you do that and then you have to do this. But the count it's in tens or something like that. And it was the most bonkers thing. I spent days out listening, walking my dog. My poor dog was shattered because I just kept immersing myself in this song to try and get it right. And when I went in with the Stranglers, we did Peaches and we did No More Heroes, and it was brilliant. And I'm sitting next to JJ and Baz, and I'm like in my element, right? And then it gets to this song, and I nail the bit. I nail this riff, and they're like, oh man, he's amazing, he can do this. But then it got to the count of where the other bit, and I'm counting in my head going, 27, 28, 29. And I get to this bit and I'm like, bang on it. And it's like, yay, how did you do that? I'm like, I don't know, aren't I great? And then we did it again and I got it wrong. And they're like, oh, wow. Oh, you got it wrong. I'm like, well, how? And I said, well, I stopped counting. I thought I would. They're like, don't count it, go off of this. And I could not for the life of me get it. And then I went back to counting it and I got it again. So ironically, I didn't do the tour. I was on standby in case Jim's hand went, right? So anyway, it gets right near the end of the tour. And they got 2 shows left. And I thought, well, I'm not going to do it, but I'm going to go and see the gig. So I went to the first of these 2 shows and I'm sitting with my mate. He says to me after the show, he went, that was hilarious. He said, I watched you counting the whole show. Instead, I was sitting there counting and nodding to myself. And I sat and counted this whole 30 song show. And then I went and watched the last show, and I enjoyed it because I didn't need to count anymore. And it was like, so yeah, that took every ounce of my calculating brain. Yeah, that was hard, man. That was hard.
That's like I mean, I went to school to learn film, and I'm a horrible person when it comes to going to watch a film because sometimes it's hard to take in the enjoyment of the film when you're going, oh, why didn't they do this way, or they could have done that shot that way?
Yeah.
You're not in the moment. You're not in the flow. You're in the technical of how's it working type of thing. So
it's like that with songs. It's like that being a producer. You're listening to what frequency the hi-hat's at or how loud they've mixed the back. It's very hard sometimes to just enjoy music without having your, what's he playing on the floor tom there? You know what I mean? I just sometimes you have to like literally take off your musician hat and just put music fan hat on, and it's not easy sometimes, but it's very nice when you can do that,
Yeah. It's something you have to kind of force yourself into sometimes because it's easy to fall back and just get in that space.
Yeah, man, massively,
Sure.
yeah.
So let's talk about Clang.
All right.
Was it, this is what, I think it came out in 2020-ish. Was this a COVID project? Were you like sitting around going, I got to do something? Or where did it all come from and what was the motivation?
I think it was before COVID. Bizarrely, I think it was something as innocent as I was on tour in America and I was walking with Jules Peters from The Alarm. And we were chatting away like we did. And she said casually, you should write a book. And I said, why would I write a book? And she went, you've got so many stories. And she said, and they're all quite entertaining. So anyway, I thought about it. I thought, well, I've got a lot of time on my hands on this tour. So I thought, okay, all right. And then I remembered a great friend of mine, a DJ guy called Alan Thompson. It was a great mate of mine. And he used to call them clangs. If you told a story with a celebrity tinge to it, he used to go clang. And I suddenly thought that would be interesting angle. Now, the angle was not, look at me, aren't I great? I'm drumming with Joe Strummer, right? No, it wasn't that. It was, look at me, aren't I great? Because I'm with Joe Strummer and you'll never guess who's in the next dressing room, right? That was my angle. So I started, and I haven't got a particularly good memory. So I wrote down all the years of my life and tried to fill in some gaps and then asked a few people, when did I play with so-and-so? And it just started to take shape. And then the stories were quite funny, right? And I was kind of sending it to a few people and they would go, this is gold, man. This is gold. And it just grew and grew and grew. And then I kind of finished it and tentatively put it out and everybody thought it was really funny. So it's very tongue in cheek. It's very, it's a bit condescending. It's laughing at me more than, me telling you how great I am. And I think people like that. I think people like the honesty in it. I think people like the comedy of it but everybody loves a Clang. It doesn't matter. And I tell you what, we've all got them. Everybody's got. If I walk down my street now, I knocked on someone's door and said, have you met a celebrity? Everybody's met someone in their lifetime, right? So I'm thinking at the moment of writing Clang 2 with a perception of other people's Clangs.
That's a great idea.
Just take them in and then obviously tying it in with a few that I've done and stuff. So that's possibly my next project. But there you go.
Well, so first of all, still copies available?
Yep, you can get it on Amazon. Clang by Smiley.
All right. Let's make sure we get a plug in for that. But now, was this idea that you've got for the next book kind of the impetus for taking it to a podcast?
Well, so there's the book, everyone. It's a great read, trust me. So the podcast idea was a very recent idea of pal of mine, my pal Pete Roythorne, who's been an old mate of mine. Pete comes up with crazy ideas every fortnight, and I usually go, yeah, that's a great idea, Pete, and don't do anything. And then one day, a couple of months ago, he just said, you know what, we should do a podcast. And I was like, podcast, everybody's doing them. Is anybody going to be of interest? He said, well, come and meet me for a drink and I'll throw some ideas. So we sit down and he's going, yeah, podcast, blah, blah, blah. He says, you should base it around Clang. And I went, if we did that and we got people on the show to talk about their clangs, and it just opened up now. So Clang the podcast, we're into 3 or 4 episodes now, which is on YouTube, everyone, or SoundCloud. And it is just called Clang the podcast. And it's basically me and Pete asking semi-famous people or famous people what their clangs are. We had Gaz Top, the TV presenter. His one was interviewing Buzz Aldrin. Ian McNabb from the Icicle Works said that he once stood between Paul McCartney and Dave Gilmour at a urinal. You know, they've all got these stories, right? And it's just great to hear people who people look up to as celebrities in their own right, and they're all starstruck as anybody. So it's a great format, and I urge you, Clang the podcast on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen.
Everybody, I'm going to put the link down below. Don't worry, we're going to get you there.
Top
We're
man.
going to get you there fast. Just stick around for the rest of this because I think it's going to get really interesting. We're going to pivot a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about a project. I think you're 5, 6, 7 albums into it. Smiley's Friends.
Uh-huh.
I love this.
Thank you.
It's so diverse, right? It's so diverse. The people you get on these albums are amazing. Was it Northern Sound is one of my favorite songs. Is it Northern? Yeah, Northern Sound.
Northern Soul.
Northern Soul. Yeah, Northern Soul. How did that happen? And when can we expect more? Because I mean, there's never enough of Smiley's Friends. I got to be honest.
I've kind of been putting out an album a year now for about the last 8 or 9 years, which, and I always say, I'm not doing one this year. And it always gets to the point, I've got this thing about songwriting, and I think I stole this idea from Noel Gallagher, right? That's the only time you'll ever hear me and songwriting and Noel Gallagher in the same sentence, by the way. But I think songs fall out the sky, right? I think they're raining down, and I think you have to be in a situation to catch them, right? Now, with songwriting, I have periods of songwriting. I won't touch it for 10 months. I won't even go near writing. And then one day I'll think, right, okay, I'm going to do some writing this week. And I sit at the piano with an acoustic guitar, a piece of paper and a pen, right? And I go, right, let's go. And I wait, and I might play a chord and then a second chord and go, well, quite like that. And then suddenly these ideas, and I've got a phone that I will record. As soon as I get an idea or a lyric idea or a melody, I'll record it really quickly. And sometimes within 10 minutes, that song is formed, right? It's that simple. Other times you'll get an idea and then you'll record a bit of it. And then months later, you might go back to it. And so the idea of Smiley's Friends was to get the songs and then just ask other people to be involved in it. And I just asked everybody I knew. So across those 9 albums, there was anybody I know in music is on that album somewhere. The last couple of albums, I've actually changed tack. I've moved away from the guest thing. I've got like a set bunch of guys who I just feel at ease with. And now we're just going out. They're just Smiley albums now with a set kind of 3 or 4 backing musicians. So at the moment I'm saying, no, I'm not doing one this year. All right. You know I'm going to do one. All right.
So people can expect they can expect something for Christmas this year, and it's the new Smiley album in their stock.
Yeah, but there's one out at the moment that's called Let's Take a Look at What You Could Have Won. All right. And that's on all the, Apple Music and Spotify and stuff, just under the name Smiley. Let's have a look. Let's take a look at what you could have won. And I'm getting some really good feedback. I'm getting a lot of people saying it's the best one yet, which is lovely. I think I'm constantly learning because I have bands and artists in the studio all the time. And I think influences wear off on you, and when you are in that position, I'm kind of looking forward to the next moment to go, right, write an album. Because once you start, you can't stop. Now, my wife always knows when it's writing time because I kind of go, see you later. I'll see you in 2 weeks,
Or she takes off for Florida.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
you know, this may or may not have happened in your career yet, because you've played with so many people, and you've got you've got the Smiley and Smiley's Friends project, where what a great way to build a resume of people you've worked with. Invite them to your albums instead of waiting for them to invite them to theirs.
Yeah.
But do you have like a collaboration? Has there been anyone in your life that you've been like, if I could just collaborate with them, like a bucket list collaboration? They could be living or dead. It's all it could be fantasy, but is there someone that you've been like, you know what? If I could just get in a room with them and create something, I think it could be magical.
I don't think you can. I'll tell you who it was. It was Karl Wallinger from World Party, who recently passed away.
Yeah.
And I was such a massive fan of World Party. And about, I don't know, I'm gonna say 15 years, I'm gonna guess. I went on tour in America with a band, and I met a friend out there, and she said to me, "Oh, Karl Wallinger, man, I know Karl." I was like, "All right, yeah." She went, "I could hook you guys up, And I thought, okay, that would be great. And sure enough, she phones me up. She says, "Right, I've spoken to Karl. He's got a studio in London. You should give him a call." I thought, this can't be real. There's this number sitting in front of me, right? So I call it, and this guy goes, "Hey," and I said, "Is that Karl?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, Smiley." He went, "Hey man, how you doing?" "Yeah, you want to come over to the studio?" And I went over, and I spent one night with Karl, right? He was just setting up to do what I've just said I do, to write an album. And he was the same. He would once he started. And I had one night just sitting, chatting to him, right? We didn't do any recording. We didn't play anything. We just talked, right? And then I remember him saying, "Next time you come, bring your sticks, man. We'll do something together," right? And we never did. And I don't think I spoke to him again. It was this magic moment. And it was funny because only about 6 months ago, I was thinking, I know how to get to Karl. Well, maybe I should ask him. Maybe I should take that chance and say to him, "Look, any chance you'd like to come and sing on something, or maybe just play piano on it?" And he passed away. So I'd say Karl was one that got away. I wish I'd been a bit more adventurous with that. And because a lot of people, you ask them thinking they're never going to say yes, and they do. And it's amazing, man,
No,
If you don't ask, you don't get.
A huge loss. Yeah.
He was amazing.
Huge loss.
Yeah.
Loss. I mean, just brilliant. We've covered a lot of ground, and I tend to wrap things up with this. I'm always fascinated with what people are listening to. Like they're whether they've got a Spotify playlist or they've got something on shuffle.
Mm-hmm.
Like who are some artists that you're listening to right now that you're really digging, that you think sharing them with other people might give them some influences or some ideas? Like who are a few bands that you're listening to right now and some of their music?
Well, I was lucky enough when I was on tour a couple of years ago. I was doing some shows with Gene Loves Jezebel, right? And one night, for about the first 4 nights, we had a support band from San Francisco, a band called Strange Cities, right? Anyway, I loved them. I watched them every night. They were saying really brilliant. They had an enigmatic front man. And so drunkenly on the last night of that tour, I said, "Hey guys, you should come and record at my studio. I'll produce you, Anyway, I didn't think anything of it because I probably didn't remember it. And out of the blue, they messaged me and said, "Look, we're kind of serious about this, man." So after a bit of to and fro-in, they came, they flew over, they stayed in an Airbnb down the road, and we recorded an album, and it's out. So the band are called Strange Cities from San Francisco, and they're brilliant. So you should check them out. And there's another band in the UK at the moment. It's a band called the Molotovs, right? It's a brother and sister, right? Very young, but they are ripping this place apart, right? I spotted them about 6 months ago, and they supported Blondie and they supported the Libertines, and they are something special. And out of the blue, so I got the call from the management, and I was aware of this band. So I said straight away, I knew that they'd lost their drummer and they were between drummers. So I instantly said, I'd love to produce them, but can I play drums on it? And they were like, yeah, great, you know. So I recorded some stuff with them recently, and they are something, but they are going to be huge. Remember the name, everybody, on this date? The Molotovs, all right? Trust me, they are going to be something special. So they're the two bands over the last kind of year that I've thought, yeah, man, there's something interesting there, you know. But there's a lot of good music out there. You know, there's a lot of bands that, you know, that you just got to be open to stuff. I don't think you should be prejudiced against music in any way, shape or form. I think you should just got to be, it doesn't matter who it is. If you hear a song and you go, I really like this tune, and someone says, it's Harry Styles, right? Well, listen to it and enjoy it, right? Because Harry Styles, it might not be your guy, but Harry Styles is a very, like, talented man, right? And in a different decade and a different guise, he could have been David Bowie, right? So, you know, modern day music, I know a lot of it's under like a pop umbrella or blah, 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 but you know, you look at anybody, you look at Justin Timberlake, man. Justin Timberlake's the new Prince, but he might not be particularly cool in certain, well, with alarm fans probably, but that's not the point, man. You've got to open your mind a little bit sometimes. I was lucky enough, I know Justin Timberlake's drummer, and when I told my wife I knew him, and she's like, can we go and see him? I was like, yeah, I'll sort you out. Yeah, we'll go. And I remember getting to the show, we went to see Justin Timberlake, and as we got there, I found this great place to watch him on this balcony. And my wife looked at me, she went, right, I'll see you in 2 hours. And I didn't see him in 2 hours, apart from seeing the back of her head in the front row, right? And I just thought, and I stood there and thought, this guy is astonishing, right? He can sing, he can dance, he can write songs. And she was just standing there, loving every moment. I just thought, wow, that's not the ultimate sign of what music is to different people in different guises, man. You know, so yeah.
Yeah, and you know we've got to enjoy it while we can.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
Because you never know when you don't get a chance. You know, I'm big on supporting musicians. I'm not a big Spotify person because I think people should get paid for their craft, respectably. I think people should be supporting artists, buying tickets, buying merch, because it helps the livelihood, right?
Yeah.
It helps them so that you're not driving a truck all day.
Yeah, exactly.
So
you're not going to beat that system. You're not going to beat Spotify. So at the moment, you just got to go with it, man. You just got to ride it until somebody else comes around and changes the rules again. But there's no point in trying to fight it. Metallica tried that, and look what happened there, you know.
Yeah, right.
It's people like you, Scott, that keep us musicians going, because you buy our albums and I write songs and record stuff for people like you. So you're as important in this chain as anyone else.
Well, I appreciate that. We all have something we end up doing in life, and we rise up with one another. Yeah. And we need one another to keep that going. So I appreciate that. And I tell people, support. I don't care if it's a band in a bar down the street who are just trying to learn their chops and they sell you a t-shirt, or you can go see someone in concert, buy something, buy the music, right? Enjoy it in your way, and own it. So I'm all for that, man. I appreciate this. We could probably go on for a couple more hours, but I know it looks like you're getting down to your beer, and you're going to need another one soon. And there's probably coming up.
Indeed, man. Indeed. It's been great chatting with you. And
it's been great catching up.
Yeah. Thanks,
it's been
man.
Great catching up. I look forward to seeing you the next time you're in the States, or I may be over there, and we'll definitely host one and discuss some more stories. So thank you, everybody. Please, we've got more great interviews coming. Subscribe. Tell your friends about the channel. I'm going to put every bit of information, and it's probably going to be pages long, about Smiley and all the different things he does and all the places you can find his book and his podcast, all that in the notes below. Give us feedback. It was a pleasure having you, my friend. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks very much, Scott. God bless.